Ferrari has presented Carlos Sainz Jr with the opportunity of a lifetime, picking a man with no Formula 1 wins and only one podium finish to replace Sebastian Vettel in 2021. Sainz's time spent mired in the F1 midfield means his 1 in 102 podium record is not representative of the potential he has harboured or the driver he has so far developed into. Ferrari had an impressive list of options available to fill the gap that will be vacated by four-time world champion Vettel at the end of this season, including Daniel Ricciardo. But here are 10 reasons why Sainz is the right choice. In the last couple of years, Sainz has delivered great races where he consistently pulls the maximum result feasible from the car, even under difficult circumstances. His podium in Brazil last year was a case in point. On ancient tyres as the race was restarted, it would only have been natural if he'd been quickly devoured by the cars on newer rubber directly behind him. But Sainz aced it, not only by his habitually brilliant pace in low grip conditions, but also by remaining totally error-free and not opening a chink of daylight of opportunity for his pursuers. It was characteristic of a brilliant season with McLaren, when at many times Sainz was complaining at simply being viewed as best of the rest, when he felt his performances and those of his team were much more. Sainz is a very professional operator out of the car. Well presented, talkative, charismatic and extremely sponsor friendly. He also speaks Italian fluently, which is both an advantage internally and externally for the team. No financially secure team will sign a driver purely because of what they offer off track, but when a major corporate entity like Ferrari recruits, it is a factor, although it is secondary to their ability behind the wheel. A polished operator like Sainz is a sponsor's dream. Like Jenson Button, who was highly regarded for his abilities outside the car, Sainz ticks all the boxes for what a team requires. Perhaps that's to be expected from the son of rally legend Carlos Sainz Jr, who remains the consummate motorsport professional. Sainz is only 25, but he started more than 100 Formula 1 races. He joined Formula 1 at the same time as Max Verstappen at Toro Rosso, and both have 102 Grand Prix starts to their name. Sainz represents a wonderfully rare blend of youth and experience. He, Verstappen and Sainz's new teammate Charles Leclerc, among others, are part of a breed of F1 driver that starts early. It means that they already have tremendous experience well before they would hit their natural peak. And so it is with Sainz. He was a front runner in junior categories but did not break out properly until Formula Renault 3.5. That earned him his big F1 break, and he has kept learning and kept improving since then. Sainz will still only be 26 by the time he takes to the grid in a Ferrari for the first time, and considerably younger than Vettel, the man he replaces. That means his best years are well ahead of him, but Ferrari doesn't have to fear a steep learning curve in the interim. Sainz's raw speed is a greatly underestimated part of his game, but the numbers tell the story very eloquently. In 2015, he qualified on average just 0.06 seconds slower than Max Verstappen at Toro Rosso. In the first four races of 2016, when they were still paired together, Sainz outqualified Verstappen by 0.08 seconds on average. These are tiny margins, but they reflect very well on Sainz. This continued with the comparison to Daniel Ricciardo at Toro Rosso for the remainder of 2016, which was 0.366 seconds in Sainz's favour. When Kvyat was at Red Bull, Daniel Ricciardo had a 0.428 second advantage over the Russian. So that's a comparison in Ricciardo's favour over Sainz, but only by the tiny margin of 0.06 seconds. In 2017, Sainz was only equal to Kvyat on qualifying pace, but comfortably eclipsed him in the races. It took half a season to find his feet at Renault in 2018, but thereafter Sainz was slightly quicker than Nico Hülkenberg. And last year he had a small but decisive advantage over Lando Norris at McLaren. An intelligent driver, Sainz has always understood that mere driving ability isn't enough and that you need to be a complete package on and off track. He's a smart, thoughtful character and has a desire to understand the technicalities to a depth that will ensure he's in harmony with his machinery. This also helps him when it comes to communications with engineers. This aspect of his game has shone brightly at McLaren, where he quickly earned the respect of the engineering team by building a good rapport and finding the right level of communication. His contribution will also be appreciated by Charles Leclerc at Ferrari. This intelligence will also allow him to excel in other areas, such as dealing with the inevitable politics and pressure of being in a team like Ferrari. Sainz's rejection at the hands of Red Bull could have killed his Formula 1 career. It certainly killed many others. Okay, he could have handled the internal politics better at the time, but Sainz would not be defeated and instead pushed to make things happen for himself. Thus the move to Renault towards the end of 2017 and the full-time drive in 2018 were both engineered. But then rejection again. Twice in as many seasons, Sainz was deemed second-rate and looking for another drive. Undeterred, he fashioned his move to McLaren. Perseverance paid off and he thrived in a team leader role last year. Sainz has had to fight for his career on more than one occasion, but every time he's been knocked to the canvas, he's pulled himself back to his feet. Handling the pressure of fighting at the front in F1, not least with Ferrari, is a different challenge, but he's risen to every challenge he's faced so far. Rain is a fact of life for a racing driver, but some fare better than others in such conditions. Sainz has performed very well in the rain over the years. In total, he started 8 Grand Prix that have been at least partially affected by wet conditions, and he's finished in the points in 6 of them. Of the other 2 races, he retired from the points in one and lost 10th place to a 10-second penalty in the other. In the sodden 2016 Brazilian Grand Prix, Sainz was an accomplished 6th, showing his understanding of conditions by not getting sucked into changing to intermediate rubber at the wrong time. In 2019 he finished 6th in Germany, albeit with a spin at the final corner along the way. Sainz has excellent feel and sensitivity for the wet and changeable conditions, meaning he will be a threat in races when the rain does come through his pace and his good judgment. Let's not forget, it was a race in changeable conditions that cost Vettel, Sainz's predecessor at Ferrari, so dearly in 2018. In looking at the comparison to the other obvious candidate for the job, Daniel Ricciardo, Sainz is more appropriate for the role Ferrari envisage. Sainz is at an earlier point in his career, is 5 years younger, and is not on a trajectory where the time is running out in his quest to be world champion. Signing Ricciardo as someone busting to win a title but with the clock ticking down, and who is probably savvier behind the scenes than Leclerc, potentially would spell the sort of trouble for Ferrari that it had with the Leclerc-Vettel combination. Sainz isn't going to roll over alongside Leclerc, but he is going to be less disruptive, at least in the short term. This might seem a churlish inclusion given this is Ferrari we're talking about, but no team is immune to the consequences of the current global situation, and financing 2 megastar drivers is a costly endeavour. Leclerc won't be earning the megabucks that Vettel is on with his final Ferrari contract, but a new long-term deal will have boosted Leclerc's earnings handsomely. Ricciardo may not have necessarily been able to command the eye-watering £20 million plus per year he managed to swing with Renault, but he would have absolutely cost more than Sainz would have been available for, and when Leclerc is Ferrari's true long-term bet, why pay over the odds for his teammate? Sainz has had a comprehensive and varied apprenticeship in F1. This is reflected in a level of performance that made him the standout midfield driver in 2019 and means Ferrari can be confident he will be able to cut it at the sharp end of a Grand Prix. He's had stints at 3 different teams, Toro Rosso, Renault and McLaren, so understands the challenges of switching very well. When he moved to Renault, he was surprised by how long it took to get on top of the various tools and systems available. This led to him dedicating time over the winter ahead of last season to understand as much of this as he can, which allowed him to hit the ground running at McLaren. Sainz understands his craft, has the results to show he can do the business behind the wheel, and knows how F1 works on track and off it. He's ready for the chance to deploy that expertise in a leading team. So those are our 10 reasons why Ferrari signed Carlos Sainz Jr. Let us know whether you think Sainz is ready for the challenge in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe to our channel.